This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Members of Congress back in Washington. And you know what that means. Kumbaya, and everybody's just going to get along, get a lot of stuff done, right? Well, the debate's heating up over a spending bill to help avert a federal shutdown. Feels a little bit like deja vu all over again, as there could always be a financial storm on the horizon. With me here, as always, Scott McLean. This is Financial Insanity right here in Waretown, New Jersey, Ocean County, helping you shore up your retirement future. If you hear something on the show today, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And Scott's uncertainty, again, the name of the game. A lot of things going on right now, maybe hurting our vibe when it comes to the economy, hearing about federal shutdown. What about you? What are you thinking in times like this, Scott?
Alex, what's that noise? Do you hear that, Alex?
Uh-huh. Oh, I hear that. I know where you're getting at.
If you're as old as I am or as young as you are, Alex, kicking the can seems to be, no matter how old or how young you are, it seems to go on. It's almost like telling your kids not to do something, but they do it anyway. So you know what? Concerns about the federal government shutdown, absolutely right, Alex. The possibility of the federal government shutting down by the end of the month, it's impossible. These shutdowns can disturb various sectors of the market. And then, of course, you are out there listening to me right now, or maybe you're talking to an advisor. Maybe you want a second or third opinion. You know what? It does affect the markets, but it affects the market for a period of time. The question is, do you have a knee-jerk reaction and get in and get out and then really affect your portfolio? This is really, really important. This really affects a lot of people, which is disastrous. And the second thing I'm thinking about is, Alex, when you keep kicking it down the road, you're deferring options like the likelihood of a recession. Now, I'm not sure we're seeing recession in 2023 at all. We have very low unemployment, but the wide range of what's happening, people are barely able to pay their bills. We see the credit card going up. People are spending more money than they ever did. I guess there's no more free money out there, so they ran out of that. But this economic and global uncertainty, the supply chains disruptions, is really, really important to pay attention to. But again, you can't live your life or try not to live your life in fear. This is why it's so important to get someone you can lean on and guide you through this jungle, because this is not the first time it's happened, Alex. I mean, you're a young guy, and I'm an old crusty guy, still good looking, I think.
Oh yeah,
for the blind. You're
holding it together pretty well.
But I think it's important that people provide, guidance, professional guidance, so we go through this. And the next thing, if you're struggling out there and you think about the industries that are struggling, it's hard for companies to borrow money. And therefore, if their companies need to borrow money, it's very hard and difficult. That leads you to a segment of investing right now. They call it BDCs. I won't go over that in detail, but BDCs, business development corporations. But really, how do you cope with this? In addition to what we're coming on now, Alex, what are we coming up to? It's tax season.
Yep.
And so this, again, is causing more disruption. So,
of course,
you gotta take some Pepto-Bismol or maybe some Tylenol and relax yourself. But again, getting the guidance as you look at your portfolios go up and down like a yo-yo.
Well, and that's just so important. Like you talked about, you've seen this before. You can give people guidance. What does this mean? Federal shutdown, if Congress doesn't act to pass a spending bill, how does that really affect me? What does this mean to have a possible financial storm on the horizon? And you mentioned taxes there, and I want you to give people the contact information here, but tell folks about how you can take a 3D approach with folks to really help them visualize their retirement and all the pieces that are going to make that happen, taxes being one of them. But like you mentioned, people can come to you and you can help frame up this retirement concept in a way that makes it really something that's real for folks and something tangible.
You know, you said it very well. For those of you out there, when I wrote the book, The Three Blind Mice, how the financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap. The question is, how are you avoiding it? When the advisor looks at the legal documents, the tax documents, as well as the investment statements. I call it the 3D wealth and legacy planning because your three different areas, Alex, you really summed it up well, are the advisors looking at those three areas, the dreams, referring to, of course, your intimate desires and how your retirement looks like and what do you want it to look like? And maybe it's not looking like that now, but maybe you can make some changes. The second D in the 3D legacy and wealth planning, you think about the dollars representing financial aspects, including taxes, how you can maybe not pay as much taxes, as well as the investments. In the last area, the 3D planning, dreams, dollars, dynasty, covering the legal and legacy planning aspects for future generations. Frank, let's face it, guys, if you're my age, and I'm only 64, I'll be 65 December 30th. I do accept Christmas presents. But I'm thinking about, the dynasty, how you're going to pass this on. I was talking to my daughter the other day, Alex, and actually last night, I was thinking about her and I asked her, how is your finances? How are you doing, honey? I don't usually do this. I do this probably every 3 months, every 6 months at the latest. And by the way, how much life insurance do you have? And she texted me back because she goes, Dad, I'm not sure if I have it now. She knows how strict I am because she's got a young son. And this is part of my dream. I want to make sure that child, in case she passes away or my son-in-law passes away, that they're protected. Now, obviously, I'll take them. That's how we got one of our daughters. The mother died and the father didn't want her, so we raised her. Well, I don't mind raising my grandson, but it costs money. I want the dreams, your dreams. You're listening right now. Are they being fulfilled? Is your dollars being protected? And is dynasty, how is it being passed on? And so many times I find this comprehensive approach totally avoided. And I just hate to see that happen. So don't kick that can down the street either, Alex. I see people do that all the time. But I'll get to it. It's like working out, 1 hour a day, yet being dead for 24. We know working out is good, but taking the effort and energy. And I believe it's a financial advisor's job to look at these areas, Alex.
Yes.
They don't have to be proficient, but they should be asking these questions. And then maybe they pick up the phone, not texting. They pick up the phone and they call the lawyer and they call the tax guy or gal, and they find out what's going on after they read the documents. This is a lost art of high touch.
Yes. And Scott, it's kind of like you go to the movies and typically it's in 2D. It's flat. You can see the movie, but it's flat. What we want to do is put those 3D glasses on, and that way it's really in your face. It feels real. You can visualize it. You can almost taste it, smell it, feel it. That retirement is such a real thing. And if that is something that
lost art.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a total lost art.
Yes, and if it's something that interests you, the number 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. The number for Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, Waretown, New Jersey. And we're talking today about the current times, members of Congress back at it, trying to avoid a federal shutdown. But what does that really mean? And Scott, for people that are still concerned about the stability of their company or their position, what are some steps that they might want to consider?
Well, I think about that as number one. You're thinking about yourself as number one. What do I need to take my financial goals? Are you have any big purchases out there? Should you take care of it now or wait? If we go into recession, should we wait for that? Or maybe we should get a better deal? I look at the treasure map, the map of your savings and earnings. Are they hidden? Are they gems? Are they being trapped? You think about your assets and your monies and how they're protected. where are they? And are they protected? I've seen just the other day, I was speaking with a mother and daughter. And as we were drilling down, I was finding out she needs to sell some real estate. And we found out that the 1031 exchange, there's some unique 1031 exchanges on the tax where she will not pay any tax on selling this lovely building up in Staten Island, New York. She's got a good profit, and how we can make it totally tax-free. She freaked out. So again, the treasure map, you also think about how do you plot, or maybe really looking, segueing into the legacy planning, as we spoke about before. So again, when you think about all the challenges that are out there, kicking the can down the street, the government's going to really mess up the portfolios, possibly. How are you looking at your portfolio? And again, do you have a wise mentor who has been through these challenges, who are looking at the three different areas, Alex, that you brought up earlier, Alex, which is very wise and smart? How are you out there looking at your portfolio? Are you just looking at it and then putting it aside and say, oh, it'll come back, or, oh, it'll get better? Or are you saying, you know what, being proactive versus reactive? And when we talk about this segment we just spoke about, Alex, we talk about the kick in the can. We've seen the markets have really challenges. We've seen them drop at 20, 30%. And then, of course, they pop right back, or they could take time. So this is really important when you're talking about some questions you think about that you may be thinking out there right now. That's right. You right now, you may be thinking about it. And if it's on your mind, I encourage you, the best thing that my daddy ever said is, Scott, don't put off a problem. Take care of it right away. So I'd like to offer you just a wonderful phone number, 609-488-4646. I'd love to talk to you off the air. Bonnie will make it happen. But if these questions are on your mind, or maybe you're staying up late at night, and maybe you're wondering, am I going to run out of money? Or maybe wondering, how can I stop these losses? Or can I get a better return? Or am I paying too much in taxes? Or maybe I need to take care of my legacy, my estate, because frankly, I really haven't dusted off my legal documents, will, power of attorney, living will, and I haven't really looked at them seriously in over 5, 10, 15 years. I see this every day, Alex. This is important.
Absolutely. 609-488-4646. Write that number down or dial it right now. 609-488-4646. Add.com for the website. Well, still to come, we're going to be talking about 401k and IRA decisions. And also later on, we're going to have a special guest, Robert Brown, talking about some benefits that you need to know about. So all that and more coming up. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends, or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok.
Oh, that's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Millions of Americans' retirement money is in something like an IRA or a 401k. And as a whole, U.S. retirement assets are more than $32 trillion. And over half of it, over $19 trillion, is in IRAs and defined contribution plans. I'm Alex Dingman, along with Scott McLean. 609-488-4646 is the number, 609-488-4646. But what do you think about those figures there, and what's that mean for folks, Scott?
It's amazing. I'm so excited to see, even though the markets are like a Duncan yo-yo, goes up and down. When you're climbing a mountain, Alex, and you're watching, you're going a yo-yo, you're watching your yo-yo go up and down. The goal is to get to the mountaintop. So if you're just watching the yo-yo, you don't know where you're going. You're just watching the yo-yo go up and down. It's almost right now. People are watching the markets go up and down, but they don't know what's the end game. So a lot of people, all of us that are heading into retirement, they're building up their savings. There's some types of retirement accounts, whether they're Roth IRAs, you mentioned a 401k, 403b, 457. We have the defined contribution. There's a lot of different retirement plans, and I call that yummy money or ugly money. The ugly money is defined retirement plans, 401ks, 403, because when you pull it out, it's taxable. And when we spend time with our clients, we want to see the tax return and how are you going to pull out money. So the decision really is to really save money, A. B, how much should you be saving? And C, where do you put the money to get in this crazy stock market? And you definitely don't want to have a lot of Pepto-Bismol every single night when you go to bed and watch the bad news.
No.
How do you get stability and strength? And this is where you need a coach. And really, when you start pulling money out of the markets, this is now a tax game. So when you meet with your financial advisor and he or she is not asking to look at the tax return, they're leaving a piece of you out. It's like running a marathon in the rain and on rocks, but you have no shoes on. Double dumb, just double dumb, double butt dumb. And I can tell you, you want to make sure you have the right equipment, the right tools when the market is like it is, volatile as it is right now, and you're about to retire. So again, I'm so glad you keep putting money in, dollar cost averaging. We can talk about that later on if they want to, but the question is, what should you do now? And I can tell you this is really important.
Well, and Scott, the thing is, too, when we're talking about these accounts, the big thing to think about, and you hit on it, is how are these things going to be taxed? So you're talking about a 401k, IRA, and so there's different options there, and it just matters when it comes down to it of how that retirement income is going to be taxed. And so this is just important details, obviously, for people to know about.
You know, this is why I wrote the book, The Three Blind Mice. And if you're listening to me right now, if you want to get a copy of the book, anybody who wants to come in and meet with me, I'd be happy to give it to you. I'm not trying to sell the book at all, but I think what's happening is you have your three blind mice, your financial advisor, your legal guy, your will, power of attorney, living will, and then of course you've got your tax guy, your CPA or your accountant or whatever. And this is what's so important, that the financial guy or gal that you're working with, if they're not looking at the tax return and you're about to pull money out and you're ready to retire, the most important thing I can tell you, I can encourage you, I would beg you, is to get with your financial guy or gal and say, here's my tax return. How should I be pulling money out? What's going to be the most challenging process of pulling money out? How much extra tax will I pay? When Social Security was tax-free, now Social Security can be taxed up to 85%, and you don't even know that. How does that get affected? And when you're pulling money out of these qualified plans, I call it ugly money because it's qualified. You have to pay tax at the ordinary tax basis. When you pull the money out, how much are you going to pay in taxes? And I think I know for a fact when we meet with people who want to come in and want to get a second opinion or a third opinion, this is a tremendous tool. What is this? The tax return. It is a tremendous, powerful tool when you're going into retirement, along with if you're getting Social Security disability, maybe your spouse is getting that. Or maybe you're getting 2 or 3 different pension plans, or maybe you're not getting Social Security because you work for the railroad, you're getting a different plan. So this is not a one-time meet somebody and invest. No, This is a game plan or a discussion on how to best optimize your retirement for the best choices. You won't have to pay excessive taxes because you walk through the process of taxes. And I can tell you, This is where the whether it's pre-tax, post-tax retirement, you've got to pay attention. You've got to pay attention to taxes because you think you're going to live on, let's say, $4,000 a month, but you end up living on maybe $3,500 a month. That $500 could affect people,
Right.
Because of why you didn't take in the consideration, not you, but the person that you're working with did not look at the taxes. And this is a vital mistake.
Yes. 609-488-4646 is the number. 609-488-4646. We're talking about decisions that need to be made in regards to your 401k or your IRA. And, one of those things is the rules about taking money out of these accounts. And what do we need to know, Scott, about when we have to start taking those required minimum distributions, those RMDs?
Well, those required minimum distributions are exciting. I think every year the government's lately setting a game plan up to postpone it. And it sounds great. I can postpone it. It used to be 70 and a half, changed to 72, and now it's 73. So they're postponing and say, oh, the government's so nice. Okay, well, they changed something else. They changed, what if you pass away and it goes to, let's say, the nieces, the nephews, maybe your kids. Now you have what's called it becomes a beneficiary IRA, or maybe your mother and dad passed away and you're receiving it. Those are out there. If you received an inheritance, do yourself a favor. Give our studios a quick shout out and set a time up with me for 10, 15 minutes. We can talk about the beneficiary IRA post 2020, pre 2020, because this is the mistakes I have seen so often. How do you pull money out? The government changed the rules. And so let's use the rules for your benefit, not for Scott's benefit, not for your financial advisors, your benefit, for your benefit. And this is where the tax return, along with maybe the IRAs, the 401ks, come involved. Maybe you receive money from someone passing, beneficiary IRAs, or maybe it's time to start doing a conversion based on your tax return to converting it to Roth IRAs, tax-free money. And you can do that over a period of time until, of course, the government's allowing you still to do it, and they want to get their hands on your money. The IRS is amazing. I do believe, Alex, they need to hire more people without guns, by the way. Just hire more IRS people, because who likes sitting on the phone for 3 hours just to speak to somebody, get an answer, and you get a brand new person, they give you a half-tail answer. This is not good. This is why, if you're out there, you've got a financial guy or gal, you love them to death, or you want to give us a call, let's take a look at the taxes returns, because 403B, 401k, 457 IRAs all have a left hook coming. And when it comes, you don't want to be the recipient of that left hook. In other words, excessive taxes because you didn't pay attention, or the financial person you're working with didn't even look at that. And that's the three blind mice you're working with. They didn't pay attention.
Well, and Scott, it just speaks to like, there's changes that happen all the time. There's rules, there's requirements that may adjust or that are just, hard to remember. And if you were trying to do this DIY approach, the kind of stuff that you'd have to keep in your mind and you'd have to keep updated, and you're going to miss something. And that's where somebody like you, Scott, sure, the rule changes, they might bother you too, as far as, okay, now I got to learn something new, but that's your job, is to go in here, okay, RMD changed from 72 to 73. What does that mean? Okay, these new rules because this new administration, or due to what's going on with the economy, this is kind of what we can foresee happening. I mean, these are things that, man, it wears you out as an advisor having to keep track of, but that's your job. That's what you love to do. You love being that person for folks, and so they can go focus on other things. Go see those grandkids. Go play some golf today. Don't be sitting here trying to get all the details worked out of every single plan you have, every single account. I mean, it's good for you to know some things, but shoot, let the expert help guide you also. That's why you're here.
It is. And I want to thank those of you who have been with me for so long. I know we've received so many phone calls because of our radio show. We've done a lot of TV. You've probably seen my beautiful face, or George's beautiful face, on TV. We do this not to strum up a ton of business, to let you know, hey, we're out there. We're on our game. the laws change, as you well stated, Alex. They change so rapidly. And I myself, we still got to go through the continuing education process. We still got to take classes. And it's not like a professor sitting behind the pulpit and teaching students. I'm in the game working with clients and teaching other people because I love it. And I think education is so important. And, sometimes I miss rules. I miss it. Yeah, that's right. I made a mistake. Okay, great. If I miss something, the neat thing is I've got people to lean on and run things by, whether it's a pool of CFAs, Chartered Financial Analysts, or CPAs. I can make a couple phone calls and just double check my work, which is what we do here. Like you said, Alex, that's our job. And rules do change. I was, Alex, to give you an example, I was helping a young woman. Here she is, 55. The rules is on IRAs, you can pull money out after 59 and a half. And she wanted income. She inherited a lot of money from her daddy, and she wanted to pull income out. So we put her into a couple vehicles. Some of the money went into a non-qualified account, which means when you pull it out, it's not taxable, except for any kind of short-term, long-term capital gain. But she also had IRAs. So we did a strategy program, and I looked through it all. I said, you know what? Based on the risk factor, the beta, with the alpha factor, how much growth we can have, and this is about as deep as I'm going to get on the radio, where does she put her money? We took money out of her account because she's 55. She can't take it from IRAs unless she turns it on to a 72T. Well, we changed her investment. She is getting a nice check every single month, non-taxable. And then when she turns 59 and a half, we switch accounts. We start doing some Roth conversions, and she still pulls money out, keeping her tax bracket down. Really fun stuff. It's almost like you and I are playing chess. The one who has the more knowledge and can think 4 or 5 steps ahead, you're the winner. I don't know if you guys are out there. If you're the winner, you're a winner when you look at the taxes and the investment. If you're not, you could be being set up, as the Three Blind Mice says, they need to talk to each other. And if they don't, you're the one who are going to suffer the consequences. Don't let that happen. Give our studios a call. If you would like that help, we're here for you. 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. By the way, that's our website, 609-488-4646.com. You'll go there. You can peruse the site, see what's going on, and then give our studios a call. Ask for Bonnie. She'll put you in the queue. Would love to speak to you. No cost, no obligation, because making tax decisions could cost an exorbitant amount of money that you didn't have to pay, and that's called regret.
Whether it's a 401k or an IRA that you have for retirement, one thing is certain. You can't treat your retirement account like an ATM. Spending down your savings too quickly and running out of money is an option, well, you just can't afford. Financial Insanity with Scott McLean continues in just a moment.
It's nice when you get everything on your list in one place, isn't it? Scott McLean from McLean Advisory Group agrees. That's why he offers comprehensive retirement planning all under one roof. You shouldn't have to go one place for tax planning, another for estate planning, and another for retirement income planning. That's why McLean Advisory Group was started. Scott wanted to build a company that could help families with all aspects of their retirement planning. McLean Advisory Group is more than just convenient. They're knowledgeable and experienced. And for answers for your questions, you can set up a meeting with Scott and his team to talk about your retirement. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Use the same number to reach the team online. 609-488-4646.com. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC. Firm offers insurance services but does not provide tax or legal advice.
Whether you have a 401k or an IRA, you cannot treat those things like a big ATM. Those retirement accounts, well, there are certain strategies that you have to implement to make sure you do not run out of money in retirement. The number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646 if you want to talk to Scott and his team over at the McLean Advisory Group. But What do you think about that, Scott? Probably should have some strategies so you don't run out of that money in those retirement accounts.
Well, you could do the Wing Chun plan and wing it.
Yeah. I mean, might be fun for a little bit, but
it would
eventually,
be. I mean, in your early years, they call it the go-go years.
Yep.
You're making a fat income, and then you retire. You put the skids on, and you and your lovely spouse or your family want to go on trips, and you're spending money.
Yep.
This is really important. I love meeting with people at least a year before retirement, if not 6 months at the latest. Hey, Scott, we're fixing to retire. Okay, great. We can take a fixed dollar amount, but what I find is when you're living, let's say, on 70, 80,000, 100,000 a year, and you are working, well, you're making that money, but you have now retired. Now you got no other taxes. Social Security tax, that's off the table. You're not paying that. FICA, FUCA tax, it's off the table. The question's going to be, how are you going to pull it out? Maybe from a fixed amount of money, I want to pull $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. Okay, great. What investments are you in? And maybe you say, well, Scott, you know what? I want to pull a lot out now. I want to buy a new car. I want to buy, I want to go on a trip to Europe and I want to spend some money. This is not a wing it plan, even though it is kind of when you're first retired. Most people have a juicy income. They go to retirement and they're, all right, I'll just live on the same income. I call it the wing it plan. And they don't think, okay, they could be spending a lot of money, usually in the go-go years when you first retire. Then we have the slow-go years. You're not doing as much. So maybe you're not going to that same vacation. You did it, you've done it, you don't want to do it again. And then we have the no-go years. Your lights are twinkling. Maybe they're getting dull. Or maybe you say, you know what, I don't want to go snow skiing anymore. My knees are busted. I can't go. Y'all have fun. And so is it the fixed dollar plan? Is it maybe a limited, maybe you're going to limit withdrawals over that period of time? Do you have investments that by way of contract, listen, investments by way of contract, they're paying a steady check to you, and they could pay a steady check for your life, or by way of the contract, like a bond, like a preferred. What if they don't pay a dividend? And so these are really, really important. Then some of you guys out there and ladies, lovely, beautiful ladies and men, maybe you have the bucket plan. I called you. You put your money in a bucket, you start pulling it out. How much do you pull out of the bucket? Or maybe you have a bucket plan. I have enough money in case the refrigerator breaks. Save, refrigerator breaks. Save. I need 4 new tires in my car. Save. The kids are going through a divorce. They need help. Save. The kids can't pay their mortgage. I'm going to help them. This is a bucket plan. You know, I call it a emergency type of plan. But remember, it's your emergency for those retiring. It's not the kids' retirement. They got to go through the bump in the road sometimes. I know everybody wants to bail the kids out, but sometimes you need, and I don't mean to be ugly. If anyone's out there listening, if you haven't met me, I'm really warm and love people to death, but sometimes they just have to go through that bump in the road to figure it out themselves.
Right.
And this could minimize the required minimum distribution by using the Roth conversion tool. So maybe we'll start putting in the IRAs and 401k monies. We start pulling the 403b. We start pulling the money out. Again, you look at, how do I pull income out? This is where I always talk about, if you've listened to me before, I say TR, total return, equals I plus G, income plus growth. So if you have a growth plan, you can't spend growth when it drops, right? But if you have income, you don't have to sell off shares. You enjoy the dividend, that dividend or the interest coming in. And I can tell you, the distribution strategies that are out there are really vital when those of you heading into retirement, if you're not paying attention, look at all the neat strategies that could happen. And there's some cool ones out there. It's really, really can be really simple when you get someone to educate you through that process, your light bulb will come on like it did in mine when I was in school. It's like, wow, this is cool. I got to tell everybody. And now you head into the education phase, which we've been doing. So Alex, that's really important for people out there. If you're in retirement or about to retire, how do you set it up?
Yes. Talking IRA and 401k decisions today. If you have questions, the number is 609-488-4646, 888-488-4646. Scott, how do we figure out how much income we're going to need these different accounts to generate? We know that we're going to need to figure out different ways than just that paycheck in the future. These are some strategies, but how do we discern, decipher how much income from here, how much from here? How do we go about that process?
So that's a really loaded question.
Right.
So when first of all, you see how much money do we have in qualified plans. A qualified plan could be an IRA, a 401k, 403b, 457. This is taxable money. Then we look at the non-taxable money market, savings account, fixed accounts, CDs. And we say, okay, maybe we take from both sides. Why? Taxes. How can we reduce taxes? And then we say, look, we also have income coming in from where? Well, maybe you have a pension plan. This is the biggest mistake I can see people making. They take the maximum withdrawal and the spouse gets nothing because they buy, let's say, $200,000 of insurance. They think that's a lot, and they take the maximum plan. For example, maybe you choose the plan that's going to give you $3,000 maximum for life. And if you buy $200,000, if you die, they take the $200,000 thinking that $300,000 or that money, that $3,000 a month will last. It won't. So I'm not sure about you out there that are listening right now. This is not Alex asked a very difficult question, but a very powerful question. How do you figure out how much money or income you need in these different accounts to generate? That determines on several questions. And so that's a loaded question. I know I took probably excessive time. If you're out there and you're saying, Scott, we've got a lot of different accounts. They're all over the place. Do yourself a favor and give our studios a call off the air. And then say, you know what? I felt comfortable on the phone, Scott. I felt you didn't have to beg or bug. We won't do that. My name is on the door. This is going in our 43rd year of the business. And if the Lord lets me have another 43 years, otherwise I got younger people in my office. So our office will continue for another 43 years. But I think the question is, how do you set your money up so it'll last a good long time for the rest of your life that you can bank on? And that's why people give us a call off the air, 609-488-4646. That's my studio, 609-488-4646.com if you want to visit us online. But Alex, that's a really hard question. Well, I hope I try to answer some of those people out there.
Well, and what you did, Scott, was you made it very clear that an income strategy is necessary in retirement, having one set and so that you have a plan. And to that point, Scott, when is the best time to get with a trusted financial partner to make that happen as far as having that income strategy in retirement? When is the right time to have that conversation?
I love meeting people, whether it's 5 years before, and worst case scenario, 6 months before.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because we have to put a plan together where they can practice it, because you're going to mess up the first 4, 5, 6 months. You're going to mess up, almost like working out. You work out one day, your body's sore, you don't want to work out again. This is a plan that needs to be put in place, and then have someone hold you accountable, because this is not a do-over plan. This is not a set it and forget it.
Scott welcomes you to try that number. Also, if you would rather go to the website, it is simply the phone number with .com at the end. So 609-488-4646.com.
How simple is that?
Pretty darn easy. And you are listening to Financial Insanity, out of the box thinking for your financial sanity. More with Scott coming up.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
Scott speaks about savings down by the seashore.
Oh, man, that's great. That's great.
Back to Financial Insanity with Scott McLean and co-host Alex Dingman.
Veterans in this country that have sacrificed so much. Let's talk today about a program aiming to provide assistance to these veterans who need help with daily activities and medical expenses. This is Financial Insanity. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside Scott McLean, and a special guest today. We have former Chief Petty Officer Robert Brown, retired Navy for over 20 years, and now Robert is serving as a Veterans Service Officer for us now. And so very important, very special topic here today. Scott, thank you so much for bringing in Robert. Robert, first off, thank you so much for your service, and very excited to talk about a particular benefit today. And Robert, Scott, if you would, maybe talk a little bit about how you guys got together. What's your quick history? And then if we could delve into that benefit.
It's funny because I got involved in this program, and one of our lawyers is a veteran receiving 100% benefit like Robert is. And Robert heard me, I guess, on the radio, one of our shows we did. And he came into my office. I heard you on the radio. What are you doing with veterans? And I thought it was someone trying to mess up the program, trying to drill me down. Do I know what I was talking about?
Right.
But frankly, Dave Conley mentioned to me, Scotty, you want to learn more about it? I said, well, there's a class out in Kansas City. I was going to go out there. It's like $2,500. I flew out there, took a course, and I added it to my financial planning program because of the unique benefits that veterans are unaware of, and spouses in New Jersey and several other states that could really help and benefit their estate. For example, if we're doing estate planning, I could actually really help prevent their money from going to the nursing homes. I call it the crows and the clowns show up at the funeral. And so in doing that, I actually started this program, and I came back, I was juiced up, and I said, I got to add this to my estate planning, which then goes into irrevocable trusts, special grantor trusts, and other types of special needs trusts. For this program, I merged it into my tax practice as well as my financial practice. Robert came in and drilled me down and wanted to know if I knew what I was talking about. And frankly, we hit it off pretty well. Is that right, Robert?
It is. It is. When I approached Scott, because of my experience as a veteran service officer, I asked him quite out. I said, Scott, what do you know about benefits? Because I'm the service officer. What I said, and if you think you know, then we're going to talk about this, because I need to test your knowledge and see if we can work together. So obviously the match was made in heaven there. Yep. And we've been attached to the hip ever since with working with veterans for these disabilities that many people don't know about. So we're here to help explain that.
And we got together, and I guess it was 2008, Robert, and that's when we started this journey. Yeah. And the journey was not to make money out of this program, was to help our clients to avoid the estate taxes, estate planning, prevent the benefits from whittling down to the nursing homes, because the veterans and or their spouses have paid the price, Alex.
Yeah. And Scott McLean, like you mentioned, you opened up that Veterans Benefit Advisory Group back in 2008. Great passion you have for helping veterans and their spouses learn about these important benefits. And if you would, Robert, let's talk about the topic of the day here, VA's aid and attendance pension benefit. How does someone qualify for that, Robert?
Absolutely. Well, a couple of things. First of all, the veteran had to have served during wartime in order to get any of these benefits. So I'm going to kind of give the big picture overview. If someone needs aid or attendance of some nature, that's what this plan is for. That's obviously the name of the title, but you have to prove and justify what aid or attendance you need in order to do that. So the first qualifying piece is the veteran have to have served during a wartime period for at least 1 day of active service, active duty, can't be National Guard or Reserves, had to have been active duty and in a wartime situation, not necessarily at the war site, so to speak. World War II, you didn't have to be in Germany. You just had to be serving active duty. You could have been in Fort Dix.
So frankly, they could be, like you said, in Fort Dix. They would never have gone to Vietnam for our veterans, most of them veteran Vietnam and now Korea. The question is, they weren't there in country. They didn't have boots on the ground, but they could have been serving right here in Lakehurst, and they still qualify for the benefits and their spouses.
That's right. That's right. So thanks for that little clarification. So initially, the veteran has to qualify before the veteran or the spouse or a child, because it's all three here, can get any benefits from the VA based upon the veteran's service. And that's where it begins, is qualifying for there. The person also had to have an honorable discharge in order to get the benefit. If they were dishonorable discharge for some reason, then none of the family would qualify. So that's a qualifying situation. And then from there, what are those aid and attendance pension issues that you have? What are your disabilities? What are your aid issues? Do you need help in the home or financially or mentally, if you're in your own home, a nursing home, what have you? So there's a number of those.
So, Alex, that's what's really important when you look at this. You have to ask, when I do the intake of people doing the financial planning, I actually ask them, did you serve? And they'll say yes or no. Great. When did they serve? Or listen to me. If you're listening to me right now and your mom or dad in the state of New Jersey, because I know this is aired across the nation, if you served, and each state's different, and you need assistance, perhaps in a nursing home, this is the aid and attendance pension benefit. That's the name of it. You may qualify for this great benefit that many people aren't not even applying for or didn't know about. And then when you do your estate planning, your advisor should be aware of it. So this is where they should give our studios a call, Alex, at 609-488-4646, because this might be for you. It may not be for you. It may be for your parents. If you're taking care of your mom and dad and you're one of the veteran or the spouse served during this period of time, and we can help you more details. We won't get into the muck right now. This is not an excuse to put it off. This is an excuse not to put it off, but to take action, be proactive. 609-488-4646. We've been doing this for so long, helping people, give them the information they need to take action. And that's why I had worked with Robert, because A, he is 100% disabled veteran. B, his spouse is available for these benefits. And I thought, you know what, and there's nothing better than working with in not textbook theory, but real theory, Alex.
Yeah. Robert Brown, retired Navy, 20 years service. Very happy, appreciative of that service. Chief Petty Officer there in the Navy, Persian Gulf veteran, and now Veterans Service Officer. So continues to serve our great nation. Thank you so much. And I know one thing, Robert, that I think is important is that hopefully it's not overly complicated to apply, or at least to figure out how to apply. Robert, can you talk about that a little bit, the kind of assistance maybe for someone applying? Because that would be a concern about, is this going to be really difficult to do?
It is. Again, thank you for acknowledging my service. Definitely rewarding, and I appreciate it. And I guess now it's my time to give back after having served, to help those who have served but don't know about these benefits. So when it comes to aid and attendance pension benefit, first thing is do you need aid or attendance? That's a simple question. Do you need wheelchair? Do you need mobility devices? Are you incapacitated? Are you dementia? What's your medical status and mental status to determine that initial medical need? Secondly, it's a financial situation. Do you have assets? Do you not have assets? Where are we financially? Because it's also a financially driven qualifying program. So we need to look at that assets, and that's where Scott comes in and determines funding, how much the allocations we have, if we need to reallocate some funds or spend down some money to qualify. So it takes a little bit of financial awareness to see where we're at, and Scott does that with those irrevocable trusts, as you mentioned,
as well as legal, financial, and legal issues. And the whole thing, Robert. Also, if you get stuck in the muck by thinking the word aid and attendance pension benefit. Most people relate to the word pension, that you got to be in the service for 20 years or 30 years to get a pension. But this is basically 90 days of serving in the military, and one of those days have to be during active war. So let's say you joined the military here in 1955, and you joined on January 30th. Well, the benefit ended on January 31st. So you kind of would have been right in there, even though you weren't over boots on the ground, but you had serve for 90 days. Go ahead, Robert, especially for those of you taking care of your mom and dad, you may not even be aware of this.
Yeah, and real quickly, before Robert, I just want to make sure people know, too, if you have any questions, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Robert, please continue.
Okay, thank you. So really the overview is, do you have this need for aid and attendance to be taken care of? And if you do, let's look at the finances. If either you're within the financial range or not, and we could help determine that through Scott McLean's office here. So we do that. And then essentially what the bottom line is, the VA pays the recipient a financial amount of money, depending on the status, the marital status, the married vet, married, and the spouse, alive, deceased, what have you. So depending on the situation, the VA will pay for your aid and attendance pension benefit. Again, pension meaning for the rest of your life, not having to serve 20 years in a service, but the pension becomes yours in the future for the rest of your life. And that's tax-free, by the way. For those that don't know, you don't even pay taxes on that money. You don't even talk about it when you're talking about your accountant. So it's a nice benefit. It's obviously, so if you put taxes on there, you'd really be accumulating a lot more money in this pension benefit program.
Alex?
Yeah, and we got about 2 minutes left as we have a great guest on financial insanity today, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. And we have retired Chief Petty Officer from the Navy, Robert Brown. And he's currently Veterans Service Officer, talking about a great benefit for folks. And just a couple minutes left. What's important for people to know here as we discuss this today?
Well, the important thing is, number one, don't put this off. And Robert obviously knows how to do the paperwork. I as well know how to do it, but he is more very adequate at doing it. He's got 2 master's degrees. He's a brilliant gentleman, even though he's not as good looking as me. I can promise you that.
That's pretty tough.
But I will tell you, don't put this off if you're a veteran. If you're a veteran, the biggest important, Robert, I think, is the DD-214. That's the separation paperwork for those in the military from Korea on forward. And then it's called the separation paperwork if your parents are still alive during World War II. They didn't have a DD-214 at that time. They didn't call that number. They called it a separation form. But that's an important paperwork you got to dig up to talk about this program. Robert?
And then just to clarify some of the older vets that we're talking about, right now we have Department of Veterans Affairs, and we had or Department of Defense in this case on the DD, stands for Department of Defense, DD-214. Prior to the Department of Defense taking over the military, some of those older vets may know it as the War Department. Used to be called the War Department. So it's a WD form versus a DD form. Again, acknowledgement of their service discharge. Which records that. So again, based on what we're looking for, we need some of those to initially qualify the member as the veteran. The other thing is, I want to talk really quickly about how to get qualified. My uncle served in Vietnam during Agent Orange. He asked me for some help. He asked me that when I was still in the Navy. He just recently got awarded a back pay of $22,000 because of this benefit, but that's only a 1 year ago benefit, because we applied 1 year ago, and all those other 20 years he decided not to claim. You cannot get that. It's only from the date of application. So that's very important, is when do we start and when do we get acknowledgement?
So if you're out there and you're a veteran, there's more than the aid and attendance pension benefit. We'll talk about that in the next segment, because we're talking about the Agent Orange, Blue Water. We're talking about several things we've been helping people with, and Robert's been really instrumental in helping you, veterans or spouses, get a benefit that you don't know about.
Robert, thank you so much for being a guest today. And more importantly, thank you again for your service and your continued service for our country. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. been a pleasure. Thank you.
And again, if you have any questions, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And thank you to all of our great veterans who happen to be listening today to Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. Scott opened up the Veterans Benefit Advisory Group in 2008 to help veterans and their families, guiding them to these important benefits. Again, that number, 609-488-4646. The number for Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. And again, a special salute and thank you to all of our veterans.
This presentation may contain information which has undergone regulatory or other significant change since its original recording.
The information on this program is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of personalized investment advice and is limited to the dissemination of general information and may not be suitable for members of the listening audience. Communications such as this are not impartial and are provided in connection with advertising and marketing for McLean Advisory Group. Prior to making any investment or financial decisions, an investor should always seek advice from a financial, insurance, legal, or tax professional. McLean Advisory Group and or Scott McLean offer investment advisory and financial planning services through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
This radio show is a paid placement.